It's the first day of February 2022. Hello there, good afternoon. This is Pan-African Television News. We are live across 46 African countries and some part of Europe. We are live on Facebook at the moment at Pan-African Television. Top of the headlines. National Democratic Congress holds third commemoration for Ayawaso West Wuogon by-election violence. Victims demands accountability and compensation from government. Also coming up, Education Ministry aims at students with special skills, a move aimed at nurturing hidden talents for national development. We'll bring you details of that shortly. Butter sellers lament low patronage, fear losing investment capital. Details of these stories and many more coming up in the next 1 hour. Don't go anywhere. Thank you for choosing to stay with us. This is Pan-African Television News. My name is Ivy Abna Dede Nakite. We are live 48 Swanika Street of Olympia, Ghana. Now, the news in detail. The National Democratic Congress (NDC) has held the third commemoration ceremony for the victims of Ayawaso West Wuogon by-election violence. Speaking at the event, Member of Parliament for Ningo Pram constituency, Sam Nate George, chastised the Akufo-Addo-led government for failing to punish perpetrators of the violence. This, he said, contributed to the killing of some 8 people during the 2020 general elections.
Matter is by no way over at all. I heard Ambassador Sampiali talk about forgiveness. It is human to err, it is divine to forgive. We believe that God will forgive the perpetrators. But thankfully we are not God, we are human beings. So God could forgive them if they seek for mercy and forgiveness from Him. But we will never forget. No matter how long it takes, we will seek justice. And let everyone who was part of Ayawaso West Wuogon know that the day of justice is coming. That morning, myself and 20 other members of parliament were asked by the party to act as zonal coordinators. That was our only offense. I was given the EC accreditations to go around and hand over to our monitors on the ground. How handing out of cards by the EC accreditation cards will amount to the brutalization of an armed Ghanaian citizens by thugs and hoodlums who had been put together by the national security apparatus and unleashed to wreak havoc. It was premeditated, it was planned, it was not spontaneous, it was not accidental. They had met, they had planned it, and they executed it. And for them, it was a trial run before the 2020 election. Because this country kept quiet, because it was NDC people, the whole country went quiet, decided to sweep it under the carpet. We saw that in Ayawaso West Wuogon, they injured people, but during the December 7th election, they killed people. And they were able to go ahead and kill 8 people because when they hit 8 people in Ayawaso West Wuogon, we did not demand justice. When the people keep silent for the oppressor grows in his oppression. But our national anthem enjoins us to resist oppressor's rule. And President Akufo-Addo is the oppressor-in-chief of this country. And we must all rise up and resist him and all appointees of his who act in ways that undermine the constitution of this republic. We have heard reports from the commission. They set up a commission. And the people they set up in the commission were not NDC members. President Akufo-Addo himself handpicked people he believed had the competence to do the job that he had asked them to do. He picked the former IGP of police under the NPP administration, Mr. Patrick Ike Achampo. He was IGP when Akufo-Addo was Attorney General and was working with him in criminal prosecutions, so he knew his competence. He picked Justice Emil Short, who had been at Shraj. He knows his competence. He picked Professor Henrietta Mensah-Bonsu, who President Akufo-Addo has appointed to the Supreme Court. If she wasn't a lawyer worth her salt, he wouldn't have appointed her to the Supreme Court. He gave them an assignment to do. And that assignment was to go there and cover up the activities of Ayawaso West Wuogon. We've all read the public terms of reference, and I can read, because the media is here, I will read it, so that people know that when we speak, we know what we are talking about. These are the terms of reference that were put out by Mr. Eugene Ahin at the office of the President. The commission is expected to make a full, faithful, and impartial inquiry into the circumstances of and establish the facts leading to the events and associated violence during the Ayawaso West Wuogon by-election, to identify any persons responsible for or who had been involved in the events, the associated violence and injuries, to inquire into any matter which is considered incidental or reasonably related to the causes of the event and the associated violence and injuries, to submit within 1 month its report to the President, giving reasons for its findings and recommendations, including appropriate sanctions, if any. These were the official terms of reference. But I believe there were unofficial terms of reference to go and cover up the activities of the national security thugs and hoodlums. And that is what they started doing when we started watching the commission. When you saw the likes of Kenelo Poku come there and lie about the things that happened. When you saw the likes of Brande Champon come there and lie about the things that happened. You saw DSP Azugu come there and lie about the things which happened. Until the day that I appeared before that commission and went there with the pictures and footage from you, the media, and told the story as it happened.
Also speaking at the event, managing editor of the Insight newspaper, Comrade Kwesi Pratt Jr., opined that leaders who introduce violence in elections subvert democracy and the will of the people. He therefore called on Ghanaians to take responsibility of their future and protect the nation's democracy in light of the political insecurity in the sub-region.
Matter one, because those who introduce violence into our politics subvert democracy. Those who introduce violence into the politics, they rig elections. Introducing violence into elections is like rigging elections. Because you introduce violence into election in order to intimidate people to run away, not to take part in the elections. You introduce violence into the election for you to do the things that are against the law. You introduce violence into the election when you are afraid of the true mandate of the people. So those who introduce violence into our politics, into our elections, are criminals. Those who introduce violence into our politics, into our elections and so on, subvert the will of the people. Those who introduce violence into our politics are determined to wreck this nation, and they must never be allowed to succeed. Today, on this ground, to my left, are victims of what happened at Ayawaso Wuogon. Some of them 3 years later cannot walk. Some of them are incapable of working to earn a decent living. Some of them, their dependents are suffering. Some of them, their dependents are not able to go to school. Some of them are struggling to feed themselves and their dependents. Some of them are in constant pain. They have been in pain for 3 long years. If you are a Ghanaian and you don't rise up and speak about the pain of those victims, I don't know what kind of Ghanaian you are. If you are a Ghanaian and for the sake of partisan politics, you don't stand up to fight for these victims, then something is wrong. every Ghanaian, no matter who you are, no matter what political party you belong to, no matter your religious orientation, we all have a responsibility to stand up and fight for these victims. And we all have a responsibility to struggle to build that new society in which what happened at Ayawaso West Wogon would never, never happen again. That is our responsibility. You see, there are people in our society who have refused to learn from history. And if you refuse to learn from history, you get confused not just about your past, but you also get confused about your present and your future. Because if you are learning from history, it will be obvious to us that those who sought to use violence as a means of capturing power should have known that they have failed throughout the ages. They will always fail. And those who use violence at Ayawaso West Wogon will fail and fail and fail again, no matter what we do. In the struggle for independence and aftermath, we saw the bombing spree that was embarked upon by elements of the Dankwa Busia tradition. We saw Malam Tula. We saw the innocent school children who were killed in these explosions. We saw the attempt to kill Osadifo the Kwame Nkrumah at Kolongugu and all of that. Where did it take them? If you take our history, throughout our history, how long have they managed to stay in power in spite of that violence? Take our history. Take our history. How long have they managed to stay in power in spite of that violence? So that violence is useless. It doesn't pay. And indeed, that violence can lead to greater catastrophe. Today, as we speak on these grounds, look at the number of coup d'etats that are happening in West Africa. Look at the number of coup d'etats that are happening in West Africa. Anytime it happens, ECOWAS and ECOWAS leaders impose sanctions. After a few months, another one happens. They impose sanctions. Nobody gives a damn. Another one happens. So those sanctions are not the things which will prevent coup d'etats from happening in Africa or anywhere in the world. If our democracy does not solve the security problems of our population, if our democracy does not put food on the table, if our democracy does not provide jobs and so on, that democracy cannot be sustained.
Away from that, the Education Minister, Dr. Yawosei Educhum, has assured Ghanaians that the e-block started by the Mahama administration will be completed and operationalized soon. According to him, plans are being put in place to add dormitories to the e-blocks.
Consultation going on now for the introduction of gifted and talented education in Ghana. Gifted individuals are the ones with those high IQs, high achieving. Talented are the ones who have certain skill, natural born traits. They can sing, they can dance, they can draw, do so many things. In other countries, they focus on them and make sure they have their special classrooms or special schools. So as you take care of children with learning challenges, you also have to take care of children who are high achieving. And in most places, they put them together with children who have learning challenges because they think that if you do not take a good care of a student who is gifted, they may go wayward. Because they sit in the classroom, and to them, the Ghanaian classroom is the most boring place. That child is sitting there, he has different ways of solving the problem. And he can't sit still because he can't wait. His hand is up and her hand is up. And the teacher is saying, sir, can we do it differently? No, this is what I'm teaching you. Those children are miserable. They have a new way, but our system does not support the new way. In research, it is identified that 10% of every population is gifted or talented. 10%. So some countries have capitalized on that, Hong Kong, United States, South Korea, and say, hey, if this 10% have natural born traits and research is showing that they are talented or gifted, why don't we give them special attention so that they will be the ones that will innovate and develop our nation? And those countries that have done that have seen innovation going through the roof. These are talented, gifted individuals just sitting there and saying, can you help me? Can you allow my talent to come out so that we have to leapfrog? So there are certain things that underpin what you see at the Ministry of Education. The sense of urgency is about how do we catch up with the rest of the world? How do we create a more robust education system that will stand the test of time? How do we bridge performance gaps between the north and south of the country? If you're a minister for education and look at the achievement data of the northern regions plus OT and voter region and compare it to the south, you go to bed and you want to wake up early to look at what you can do about it. It's not good. That in some regions, only 3% of the students are pursuing science. In others, it's about 12 to 15%. Things have to change. So this is the sense of urgency that we come with. When we talk about junior high school transformation, when we talk about engaging our stakeholders in order to ensure that we can improve learning outcomes, it's all about making sure that we have an education system that stands the test of time. When we talk about introducing STEM education and constructing high schools focusing on STEM, it's about how do we make sure that our children have the skill set to operate in the 21st century as we talk about the fourth industrial revolution and what they need to do and need to know. So this year I'm excited that we're going to open 6 new schools focusing on STEM. The rest of the STEM schools will be will be open in 2023. In the midst of all this, we're also going to open 4 or operationalize 4 e-blocks. So for all those who say we've abandoned them, no, we've been opening it every year. But today I'm announcing it to the good people of Ghana that if one government invests, another government will come and continue, because after all, it's the money of the people of Ghana. I've always been on record as saying that the e-blocks, where they were located in urban areas, were the best investment any government could make. You go to Dome Kwabinya, the e-block that was placed there is packed with students. We've added a 2-story block and it's full. GMPC has built a 6 classroom block, it's also full. Excellent location. But when I go to the e-block, located at Drobonso, 2 miles away from Drobonso town, no electricity, in the middle of the forest. And I say that this is Drobonso Community Senior High School. Something is wrong. So the president directed that we needed to add dormitory blocks. As I speak with you, I've been told that we are at about 95% completion, and we are pushing to get the girls' dormitory and boys' dormitory all completed so that we can open the school. So when you hear about people saying you've abandoned them, we attempted to open Drobonso. The 3 students that went there cried their hearts out. We had to go and evacuate them and take them to Chirumbo Akudia. Saura Community Senior High School, beautiful school. But children are coming from villages walking, and those who can't walk back to their villages have to find a family member to stay with, all the challenges, especially for the girls. So the government once again said, why don't we put dormitory blocks? I'm happy to inform you that now we have a girls' dorm completed. The students will be in April 4th, and that will be a watershed moment for that school, because now it's a boarding school. So it's no longer going to be called community day school. Same is being done. We are doing same at a number of community senior high schools so that it could be operationalized well, so that the students will not have to go through the aggravation of having to find family members to stay with. So I want you to know that e-blocks have not been abandoned. There were 200 e-blocks that were going to be built. 124 was started. Very good. out of the 124, 23 had dedicated source of funds from the World Bank through the Secondary Education Improvement Project. All of them has been completed. The rest of them, budgetary allocations, was supposed to be year by year, so that when there's some money, you can do something. Consequently, some of them have not been done. And I know that so far the President is concerned, has directed us that within our budgetary constraint, we should complete as many as possible. And you have heard that we're going to operationalize some of them.
The minister also reviews government's plans and commitment to enhancing the quality of education given to school children with special God-given skills. Now, he explained that school children with such skills grow up and nurtured to enable the country benefit from their talents due to lack of appropriate educational systems and facilities.
Stakeholder consultation going on now for the introduction of gifted and talented education in Ghana. Gifted individuals are the ones with those high IQs, high achieving. Talented are the ones who have certain skill, natural born traits. They can sing, they can dance, they can draw, do so many things. In other countries, they focus on them and make sure they have their special classrooms or special schools. So as you take care of children with learning challenges, you also have to take care of children who are high achieving. And in most places, they put them together with children who have learning challenges because they think that if you do not take a good care of a student who is gifted, they may go wayward. Because they sit in the classroom, and to them, the Ghanaian classroom is the most boring place. That child is sitting there, he has different ways of solving the problem. And he can't sit still because he can't wait. His hand is up, and her hand is up. And the teacher is saying, sir, can we do it differently? No, this is what I'm teaching you. Those children are miserable. They have a new way, but our system does not support the new way. In research, it is identified that 10% of every population is gifted or talented. 10%. So some countries have capitalized on that, Hong Kong, United States, South Korea, and say, hey, if this 10% have natural born traits and research is showing that they are talented or gifted, why don't we give them special attention so that they will be the ones that will innovate and develop our nation? And those countries that have done that have seen innovation going through the roof. These are talented, gifted individuals just sitting there and saying, can you help me? Can you allow my talent to come out so that I can help this nation? And because you are not doing this in the classroom, I'm stepping out, I'm going to do my solar-powered bike just from my head. So imagine if somebody was guiding him. That student will have developed something even more advanced than the solar-powered bike. That is where education should be, and stakeholder consultations are ongoing, consulting many people with great ideas in that space to ensure that we can come to a point that we have gate schools and we have gate programs in our schools. And children are being supported to bring about innovation, and that innovation will not be bottled up in them by sheer virtue of the fact that we don't know who they are and how they learn. So I'm super excited about that. And I can't wait to see Ghanaian students getting the opportunity at junior high school level engineering. Our way, helping us engineer our way out of challenges, because the environment that we create for them will lend itself to that. So it brings great excitement to me that within existing resources, we can truly do more, as they say, with less. So some of the career pathways that these gifted and talented students will be given the opportunity to pursue together, and the ones that will be done in our STEM schools include environmental science, aeronautics and aerospace engineering, computer science, manufacturing, agric science, global studies, and creative arts. Creative arts is where a site in a school is currently under construction in Kumasi at Kwadaso, going to bring children with creative talents from across the country. You have to audition to get into the school. That school will be open in 2023. And when it happens, you're going to see Ghana's creative arts industry being given a boost, a great boost, because the young ones that are talented will find their space there, and industry individuals will get the opportunity to motivate them there and to guide them. We are creating our own Hollywood. And we believe that just as it is done around the world where talented individuals are nurtured to really bring out their talent, gifted and talented education, whether it's through the global creative arts, engineering, agric science, or environmental science, will give us an opportunity to nurture the great minds of our future. The Einsteins of Africa will be nurtured through these institutions.
Away from that, Tamale Central Legislator Ibrahim Mutala Mohammed has questioned the essence of the electronic transaction levy when government is misusing the country's funds with careless abandon. Now, the Member of Parliament, among other things, slammed the governing New Patriotic Party for wasting resources on irrelevancies such as the renting of private jets, etc.
Auditor General in the 2020 Auditor General's report, by the way, not Demlevu's report, the new Auditor General appointed by this government, has indicated that over 12 billion of state monies were misappropriated. The e-levy is supposed to give government about 6.9 billion. What it means is that 1 year alone misappropriation of monies belonging to us, our taxes, if government is able to close the holes, 1 year's money's misappropriation is enough to take care of e-levy for 2 years. Now, what is the guarantee that if we approve the e-levy and these holes are not closed, then we would have done nothing? We would have done absolutely nothing. So what we're simply telling government is that, look, there are a lot of leakages. Close those leakages and you don't need e-levy. 2, it is unfair. Any tax regime, an instrument of tax, must ensure fairness in terms of the impact or the effect of that tax on the citizens. Let me give you a classical example. You are a businessman. You drove your car to this place. I drove to this place. We all went to buy fuel. And then you decide to pay cash. Maybe you bought a fuel of 500 Ghana cedis. You pay cash. They give you a fuel that is equal to the amount of money that you have paid for. 500 Ghana cedis. Then I also come there to buy the same fuel, 500 Ghana cedis, and I decide to pay through electronic transaction. Then I will pay 500 Ghana cedis and then pay additional tax on the 500 Ghana cedis. It simply doesn't make sense. Again, you can't tell me that I should pay more taxes when I haven't seen the effect of the taxes that I have paid. This government has indeed increased the public debt of this country to about 340 billion. This government, at least over 200, about 200 to 300 billion. That is what this government has done within the period of 4 or 5 years. In the same budget, we have been told that government wants to borrow more and that they want to go to both external borrowing and domestic borrowing. That is what they want to do. Now you have a president who refuses to use a presidential jet, which is safe in a way, because if it is not safe, why do you make it available to other presidents to use? If it is not safe, they use the same presidential jet to airlift NPP MPs from Germany to come for the purposes of voting in the matter of the e-levy. Yet the president is not willing to use that. He is willing to charter flights at the expense of the state. This government is willing to pay people who are seated behind just laptop at the Flagstaff House 15,000 Ghana cedis a month. And what they do simply is that they go on Facebook attacking and maligning people. And those people are paid 15,000 Ghana cedis. It is only under this government that you find presidential staffers. A presidential staffer simply means somebody who works within the presidency. They live in state bungalows. They are given Land Cruisers, provided with drivers, fueled by the state, and provided with state security.
Meanwhile, some Ghanaians have expressed worry over the introduction and a possible passage of a 1.75% electronic transactions levy bill, a mechanism of revenue generated captured in the 2022 fiscal policy statement presented by the Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta in Parliament on November 17, 2021. According to them, the introduction of a tax will exacerbate the already existing plight of the ordinary Ghanaian.
In accordance with Article 179 and Section 21, Clause 3 of the Public Financial Management Act 2016, Act 921 of the 1992 Constitution, the Minister of Finance, Ken Ofori-Atta, on behalf of the President, presented the 2022 budget statement and economic policy of government to Parliament. During the presentation of the budget, the minister announced new taxes and some other interventions to meet the domestic revenue target. Key amongst them was the introduction of a 1.75% electronic transaction levy, which has since been a topic for discussion. Now, the past few months has been characterized with a lot of higgledy-piggledies in Parliament following the Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta's introduction of a 1.75% electronic transaction levy during the presentation of the 2022 fiscal policy statements in Parliament. Now, this has got a lot of tongues wagging, especially the minority in Parliament, who believe that the 1.75% e-levy will not reduce the country's dependence on debt, as purported by the Akufo-Addo-led administration, but rather worsen or exacerbate the plight of the ordinary Ghanaian. Some Ghanaians have also shared similar sentiments.
Seriously against the introduction of the e-levy. The truth is very simple. We all know that the current state of the economy is not that stable. The citizens are having serious challenges as far as their financial status is concerned. There are a lot of taxes that have been introduced this year alone. We all know how the petroleum hikes have been more or less rampant in the system. And then the transactions that we do through our mobile money too is also taxed. Seriously, it will put a burden on us.
Didn't I maybe say a woman is a maybe send this car, maybe a mammy will grass it. Let me maybe send this car, maybe be tria. Oh, now mammy on ye, you man, no, on also a baby tria, if you say, yes, Symmetry had ya who has a mammy or class was better with you because I blow it 1 day. And you may know your home. Say, I don't make a kind of medical manner. Oh, please can over society at your so we from a coming to bed above why. Me too one trouble. You live in honorable boy, my young man wide and work to pun. Ghana yabo busia and widen. What ya bread? See, I got a for young Casano, young Mujay, young from share a man and man widen, on 2 pun. Damn them here.
Oh, every more can be into. As some of the Kada or day and Jasso. A banner of Babusia Baba, where 2 and 5 your money, no more taxing. Mobile money taxing, on no but to your money.
Some mobile money agents also expressed dissatisfaction with the introduction of the bill, although the finance minister on Friday proposed a reduction of the e-levy from 1.75% to 1.5%, subject to parliamentary approval.
The e-levy no moment there affects the Bama all the citizens because as an agent in the men fan say yeah e-levy no on taxing, but citizens in a woman and na on tax but I know one thing. Well, share the telecos on the bet. Na dia ban no so bet na esa no so na be ma e bia yeso a agent na business so betumi ayeden aba down nipa no be decide so we say mobile money the way a ban bet ne dia na we so bet ne dia no on physical no beto no wallet and so on be load no wallet because yeso ye no na yeso ye based on commission na telecos no so hwade yeden e di chia yaka.
Now, we have heard from a lot of Ghanaians who believe that the 1.75% electronic transaction levy will actually worsen their current conditions. This is a Makiza Michelin Latifa report for Pan-African News.
Away from that, let's go to VOT region where the Nkwanta branch of the Ghana Commercial Bank escaped destruction after properties including money, foodstuff, among other things, got burnt in a house next to the financial institution. According to eyewitnesses' account, it took the intervention of the community members to stop the fire from spreading to other buildings.
Daniel is a victim and a wife to the owner of the burnt building. She said all her belongings got burnt, including her business proceeds of about 5,000 Ghana cedis. According to Elik Blim, she came back from Burkina Faso where she got her supply of tomatoes, which will be retailed here in Ghana the day before the inferno. Consequently, her business as a trader has been shattered. Landlord of the burnt house, Moses Noamesi, narrated to Pan-African News how the building got burnt while his family left for church services that morning.
I have a phone call and they let me know that there's a fire outbreak at my house. I just rushed because when I came I could see that there's a lot of...
Other victims also shared their varied views. The victims are calling on NADMO for support as well as government as they are currently displaced.
That's all on our local front. Coming up next is business.